Scooby-Doo has been around since the 1960s, and while Mystery Inc. have changed quite a lot over the decades, they remain a lasting cultural icon for millions around the world. The fact that live-action movies were made about them was kind of an inevitability. However, the planned trilogy of films ended up being cut short by one movie. But what if it hadn't been?
Scooby-Dooby-Doo, where are you? You got some work to do now. Scooby-Dooby-Doo, where are you? We need some help from you now. Come on, Scooby-Doo, I see you, pretending you got a sliver. You're not gonna need, 'cause I can see the way you shake and shiver. You know you got a mystery to solve, no Scooby-Doo, be ready for your back. Don't hold back. Now Scooby-Doo, if you boo-boo, you're gonna have yourself a Scooby snack. That's a fact. Scooby-Dooby-Doo, here are you. You're ready and you're willing. We can count on you, Scooby-Doo. I know you catch that feeling.
Back in the early 2000s, Warner Brothers, who owned the old animation juggernaut Hanna-Barbera, would decide to bring one of their most iconic brands onto the big screen. This, of course, would result in the live-action Scooby-Doo movie that we got in 2002, which starred Freddie Prinze Jr. as Fred, Sarah Michelle Gellar as Daphne, Linda Cardellini as Velma, and Matthew Lillard as Shaggy. This movie was directed by Raja Gosnell and was written by James Gunn. Yes, the same James Gunn that would later bring us Guardians of the Galaxy and The Suicide Squad. Now that might sound weird, but apparently the original vision was to make it a dark and edgy PG-13 movie that would have featured Shaggy being revealed as a pothead. However, that version of the movie was cancelled before shooting even began. In the end, Scooby-Doo 2002 ended up being a huge hit at the box office, making $275 million on an $84 million budget, so it should come as no surprise that a sequel was quickly greenlit. James Gunn would return as the screenwriter once again for what would become Scooby-Doo 2: Monsters Unleashed, which was released in 2004. This movie tried to address some of the criticisms of the first film by featuring a huge host of classic Scooby-Doo antagonists. It also had some new things to the mythos, such as Shaggy and Scooby suffering from an existential crisis, and Velma gaining a new love interest, a male love interest, although Gunn apparently wanted Velma to be a lesbian, but the studio ultimately shot him down. Now, despite this, everyone involved was extremely confident in the brand's staying power, and before the second movie had even been released, Warner Brothers would greenlight a Scooby-Doo 3. But this time around, Raja Gosnell was seemingly not going to be directing, and Warner Brothers were apparently going to be letting James Gunn direct this time. The third movie was hoped to release not too long after the second. It may have come out in 2006 or 2007, and it would have featured the same cast a third time. This time around, the story would take us to a small town in Scotland, which has been plagued by recurring apparitions. However, it would later be revealed that all of the ghosts are actually the spirits of people that the townspeople have murdered over the years, and this would force Mystery Inc. to question not only who they can trust, but how many times over the years that they immediately assumed who was the evil one. And now, while it hasn't been said exactly why these people would have been killed, I imagine it might have been a commentary, possibly on race, religious beliefs, or sexual orientation possibly. Gunn has confirmed that this would have been by far the darkest Scooby-Doo movie, but he also confirmed definitively that it would have been the last. However, this movie would never even end up happening due to Scooby-Doo 2 not making as much as Warner Brothers expected. You see, despite the budget being significantly lower than the first, only requiring $25 million to make, it only, quote-unquote, made $181 million at the box office, and the movie was deemed a disappointment. Yeah, I really don't understand that either. But in the end, plans for a theatrical Scooby-Doo 3 were scrapped in favor of making direct-to-DVD Scooby-Doo movies instead. As for James Gunn, who'd instead make his directorial debut with Slither in 2006. So what do I think of this canceled Scooby-Doo 3? Well, in order to talk about what I think about it, I need to talk about James Gunn at this point in his career. You see, he did Slither, and I have a soft spot for Slither because me and my dad watched it a lot when I was growing up, and I'm not gonna lie though, it's got problems. It's not a perfect movie by any means, and neither was James Gunn's second movie, Super. Both of them, I think, didn't really know how to handle the scarier stuff with the comedy that well, and it wouldn't be until later later on, I think that James Gunn really got the hang of his dark sense of humor in movies, with, the Guardians of the Galaxy movies and the Suicide Squad. And this would have been the first movie he ever directed. And the one advantage, I guess, would be that he would already have worked on the first two movies. So that would have been an advantage. But I also think there would have been pressure for this movie to be good, especially because the first two movies, weren't that good. I have a soft spot for the first two Scooby-Doo movies, but I know they're not the best. And, okay, I'm gonna not lie to you guys, though. I think that this movie would have been better than both of the first two combined, honestly. Because, first of all, the cast was perfect in the first two movies, okay? I honestly think that all of them were cast absolutely perfectly. I could not have casted them any better myself. Especially Matthew Lillard as Shaggy. Like, it's cliche to say it now, but Matthew Lillard was born to play Shaggy. I mean, look at him. Listen to him. He is Shaggy. He really is. And everybody else fits their roles perfectly. You know what I mean? It was just so well done. Linda Cardellini's so underrated as Velma. Sarah Michelle Gellar was able to bring her own spin to Daphne, and it was really cool. And Freddie Prinze Jr., again, another actor that just seems like he was born to play the role that he was in. And obviously, since he and Sarah Michelle Gellar were married, their chemistry was great. So it had so much going for it cast-wise. It really just needed better direction. And even though this was early in James Gunn's career, I still think that he had enough sense to steer the ship in a better direction. So yeah, I think this movie could have been way better than the first two. I already think that the plot sounds better than the first two, although on paper I don't think the first two sound that bad. So I don't know. A good story doesn't make a good movie. It needs, because it can get lost in translation. But I think the fact that since James Gunn would have been writing this movie as well as directing, that would probably not happen with this movie. My only main issue besides this being early in James Gunn's career is the fact that it does seem a little bit too heavy for a Scooby-Doo movie. Like, if my theory is right, and the deceased people would have been killed because of their race or their religious beliefs or their sexual orientations, that might have been a little too heavy for a Scooby-Doo movie. And I'm sure some people would agree with me that does sound a little dark for Scooby-Doo. But Scooby-Doo has gotten pretty dark over the years, and I think if anyone can make it work, it's James Gunn. Also, I think that would have been an interesting opportunity to possibly turn Velma into a lesbian. Like, maybe we could say that she and Patrick, Seth Green's character, broke up in between Scooby-Doo's 2 and 3. Maybe because Velma realized that she's not into guys. And then the fact that she's seeing, possible lesbians who have been killed over the years, maybe that would make her a little bit scared to come out to her friends. Maybe that could have been a story. I don't know. It's just, that sounds like it could have had potential. That they could have done Velma justice and made up for, the mistake they made with her in Scooby-Doo 2. Like, okay, she wasn't officially a lesbian yet, so it wasn't necessarily a mistake to make her straight in the second movie, but I think that they should have just gone with what James Gunn wanted to do. That's just my opinion, because I think that guy knows what he's talking about. And yeah, it would have been really nice to just see all these actors, in a movie with a director that knows what he's doing and has a good concept behind him. I honestly think this could have been the best of the trilogy, and possibly the one Scooby-Doo movie that could be considered truly great. The only live-action Scooby-Doo movie that could be considered truly great. But then again, as I said, it is a little bit weighty, and it was early in James Gunn's career, so I don't know for sure if it would have been great or not. But I certainly would have liked to see it, because if their story did feel incomplete. Like, I definitely feel like they had one more movie left in them, and I understand, well, actually, I don't understand why they'd make another one. I mean, the second movie made way more money than it cost to make, so really there should have been a third one. I think we can all agree. It makes no sense. But, hopefully, because I've been keeping my fingers crossed over the years, that one day Warner Bros. Will make a truly great Scooby-Doo movie. Oh boy, please, let's go, because I was really hoping it would be Scoob, and Scoob was not the great Scooby-Doo movie I'd been waiting to see. So, hopefully one day Warner Bros. Can get their act together and make a really great Scooby-Doo movie. Maybe they'll bring this cast back together one day and they'll try again. That would be really cool. James Gunn probably wouldn't do it, though, because he seems pretty damn locked on the superhero genre, let's be honest. He's probably going to be making Guardians Guardians of the Galaxy and Suicide Squad movies for the rest of his life. So, I'm just being honest there. So, the chances of him doing a Scooby-Doo movie at this point are pretty slim, but it would be really cool to see these people all come back together and try again. That would be really, really cool in my opinion. But anyway, guys, let me know what you think about this in the comments down below. If you think that Scooby-Doo 3 would be great, then I'd love to hear all about it. And if you like this video, make sure to please give it a thumbs up and share it with all of your friends on all your various social media platforms. And speaking of social media, don't forget to follow me on Instagram, Rinzler_Productions, and I'll see all of you in the next video.